now my pleasure to introduce Jeff Larson, who's going to share a bit about today's speaker, Rachel Young. Jeff is the 2025 recipient of the Mitchell McClung Award. This recognition is given to an outstanding educator and industry partner every year at our Burbank event. Please join me in congratulating Jeff and welcoming him to the stage.
Good morning. Oh, need some light. Can't see any of you. It's so nice to be here. Thank you so much, Ashley. It really warms my heart to be here after such a long journey, pulling all of this together with all these amazing people for years and years, organizing. As an educator, I come out of an activist background. My intent to be an educator was formed and informed by change, history, confrontation. And I settled into a classroom and decided, you know what, that's going to be my place to make change. I did a lot of other stuff in the streets, but being on the streets yesterday, again, just reminds me of how important it is for us to work together, to inspire each other, to keep building networks and making the world possible that we want to see. And we're here as part of a result of that. It really is, again, an honor and a privilege to be with you all and to be able to introduce our keynote speaker this morning. Our keynote speaker, as a young person, like many of us, was also changed and influenced by her arts education experience. She participated in a summer bridge program in Sacramento as a young person and found that comfort and that inspiration in the art room. And several years later, she went on to teach at the summer bridge program for multiple years. In the decades since, she has been a middle school teacher, a community nonprofit administrator. She's worked in talent, marketing, project management, and product design in ed tech. She still proudly pushes her own pixels, makes her own sketches and prototypes along with other people in her field. As a design leader, researcher, and strategist with IDEO over the last decade, she has led teams that have designed numerous innovations and transformations for middle schools, community colleges, nonprofits, large corporations, and the federal government. One such program was the Cafeteria and Food project here in San Francisco Unified, transforming the way students receive and feel about their food. As a senior director for IDEO, she turned the design lens on IDEO itself by hiring on and onboarding and radically changing the color of IDEO to be less white and less male, bringing a much more diverse population and views and perspectives to the design solutions that her company works on. As someone deeply familiar with finding solutions to challenging problems and circumstances, to the things that happen in our world, she's here today to share her thoughts on how we might future-proof our creativity, our teaching, and our learning with the students in a moment where AI is challenging and changing creative industries and society as a whole. So please put your hands together and give a warm Bay Area welcome to the Executive Director of IDEO, Rachel Young.
Hi, everyone. That was so nice. Jeff, I'm going to hire you. You just follow me around and introduce me wherever I go. First of all, thank you so much for this invitation. It is a real honor to spend time with some of the state's hardest working creative leaders and professionals, and I'm really grateful to be here among you. Second, I want to acknowledge that what I'm going to share today is really reflective of some incredible conversations I've had with colleagues and friends at IDEO where I work, and I also want to thank my colleague Leah Wesp, who made these beautiful slides for me today. All right, let's start here. All right, so this week Here in San Francisco, Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio gave us a real gift, didn't he? It was a loud and vivid and unapologetic reminder of what art is meant to do. To provoke and inspire, to seize us by the imagination and refuse to let go, to send a message, to sound an alarm, to make the comfortable uncomfortable, and to make the unseen seen. And he did it with music, but also dancing and choreography, camera cuts, set design, script writing, casting, a long list of crafts. I don't bring this up to flatter us as creatives, but instead to challenge us. This art was inspiring to me because it came from someone who had something to say and who'd spent years learning how to say it. His craft was his vehicle, but his creative agency, the decisions he and his team made about what to make and why, that's what inspired me. And then you walk out of the stadium back into San Francisco and you pass billboard after billboard for AI companies promising to do it all for you. The coordination, the coding, the creativity, and the care. And that's what I want to talk with you about this morning. Because your students, the ones studying film and animation, art, music, motion, sound, narrative, design, they're living inside that contradiction every day. They're asking a question that deserves a better answer than the one they're getting. Why should I learn this if AI can just do it? This being specific creative skills, everything from writing essays to designing color palettes to coding websites. The concrete skills that, until very recently, were supposed to be their ticket to employment. Under this question is a deeper one. Will I still matter if machines can do this faster and cheaper than me? And that might be too much for 11 on a Friday. But they have a point. It's a really rational question to ask when you're watching older siblings struggle to find work or seeing parents worry about the job market, and you're wondering if the path you chose still leads anywhere. And the answers they get back to this question can sound wise, but they can be cliche. Things like, you have to learn the rules before you break them. And art has always survived new technology, and we said the same thing when the digital camera came out. Okay, boomer. But the actual question, why don't you answer it? So art surviving doesn't mean you're gonna get hired, and photography surviving the digital camera didn't help the people who worked at Kodak. These answers comfort the field while leaving the individual on their own. Some answers we're tempted as educators to give sound like this. The point is about learning, not the output. Or art isn't the job, it's about meaning. And sure, that's all true if you can afford to believe it. But telling a student not to worry about whether their craft will pay the bills is kind of privilege disguised as wisdom. So I figure we owe them something better, something that doesn't dodge the economic realities. So how about this? Why should I learn this if AI can just do this? So you get to decide what gets made. Every creative craft looks like it's about a tool from the outside, but underneath, it's about understanding how the world behaves and how craft can make people feel. And that's in service of our students making things for the world. In animation class, when you animate a ball rolling across a screen, you learn about the technical mechanics of keyframes and timing curves, but you also learn how humans perceive movement. You discover that a ball needs anticipation, a slight compression before the bounce, That momentum isn't physics, it's actually emotion. A ball bouncing too perfectly and regularly feels robotic. One that settles with a wobble feels alive. You're learning the physics of emotion, and that knowledge lives in your body in a way that no prompt can replicate. In music class, you might be learning scales and chords, but you're also learning about tension, how a suspended fourth makes listeners lean forward, waiting. You're learning to command silence, to understand that the space between the notes can be as powerful as the notes themselves. In film class, you might be learning shot composition and editing, but you're also learning when to show and when to hide. The scariest moments in a horror film are rarely the monster, but the shadow moving behind the door. Knowing how to create scene is technique, but the lessons you derive from that craft are lifelong. The technique we learn is temporary, but the understanding they create is permanent. Craft teaches how to shape emotion, attention, and meaning. That hard-won, embodied knowledge gives you power to make choices and not just execute instructions. A colleague and a friend of mine, now a brand director at IDEO, tells a story about art school in 2007. She prioritized her Adobe After Effects class over a lowly calligraphy one. Obviously, because After Effects was cutting edge in the future and calligraphy was just writing with fancy pens. Fast forward 15 years later, she actually wished she'd made the opposite prioritization. In our line of work, After Effects has been replaced twice over, but calligraphy taught something more important and permanent: how letter forms create rhythm, how weight and spacing affect meaning, and how slowing down reveals structure. The After Effects skills may not be as useful to her anymore, but understanding the letter forms that calligraphy gifted her was far more permanent. Let's talk about jobs for a minute. Creative jobs, the ones your young people are training for. My hope is that they can actually learn from some of the mistakes we creative professionals have made over the last 20 years. Here in the Bay Area and in the tech industry, we designers lost our way a bit. Speaking for myself and a few friends, we have rent to pay, and we helped commoditize creativity to pay for it. I don't know a creative person who hasn't been forced to use their craft to make something entirely silly to pay the bills. We've all been guilty of reducing our creative brilliance to produce websites, ads, reels, and GIFs, optimized for clicks, conversions, stripped of meaning. But because of AI, that game is sunsetting, and honestly, it's about time. Good riddance to bad work. I actually want those jobs to go away. I want to see a rebirth of the creative industry, one that's led by your students, and possibly Bad Bunny. I've been witness to a generation of creative jobs in tech that were not good. You know, jobs optimizing for button colors and A/B tests, and jobs choosing between template number 3 and template number 7, and jobs where your creativity is measured in tickets closed per sprint. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg, who I know is an easy villain, but let's just go with it, he recently described his vision for the future of Facebook advertising. He said, businesses will tell Meta their objective, connect their bank account, and AI handles everything. The creative, the targeting, the measurement. No human needed. But if that's how the tech industry defined creative, then losing those jobs isn't a loss, it's a correction. So, good riddance to bad work. I'm lucky that in my 10-year career at IDEO, I've seen that where creativity has and will still have real value. Real value, like the capitalist kind, creative value that will survive technological shifts, creative value that people will pay for. Here's what actually has value. It's valuable to know the difference between impressive and meaningful. The thing that makes executives say wow, and the thing that makes an audience come back. It's valuable to know when something is finished Not perfect, but finished, to resist the tweak that makes it technically better, but emotionally less. It's valuable to look at a brief that says one thing and recognize that the problem is something else entirely. It's valuable to hold a room's attention, to know that pacing is a skill, whether you're editing a scene, structuring a pitch, or leading a critique. It's valuable to know what to leave out, because AI can always generate more, and the hard part will be knowing what doesn't belong. It's valuable to know when the tone is wrong, when the script reads fine on paper but sounds false out loud, when the color grade is technically correct but it just looks wrong. It's valuable to take a vague, contradictory set of stakeholder opinions and turn them into clear creative direction that everyone recognizes but no one can articulate. It's valuable to know the difference between referencing something and ripping it off, to understand influence deeply enough to make something new from it. It's valuable to be the person who says, this isn't for us, because you know the audience well enough to protect them from work that doesn't respect their attention. It's valuable to translate ambiguity into direction, to hear, I don't know, it just isn't there yet, and turn it into concrete next steps. Here's my favorite. It's valuable to be brave enough to say the hard thing out loud at the right moment, the way Bad Bunny did for us. To me, this is the most powerful element of creative confidence. True creative confidence is having the courage to name when something doesn't make sense, even when everyone else is nodding along. Challenging a bad assumption before it becomes an expensive mistake. Creative confidence gives us the power to push something out of our throat that might otherwise get caught there. That kind of confidence doesn't come from prompts or tools. It comes from years of making things and failing and revising and paying attention. From understanding craft deeply enough, not just the technique, but the underlying principles about why things work and turning them into real decisions. It's the difference between someone who reads about baking and someone who can tell by touch that the dough needs more water. So, craft is creative agency. We do creative work so that we can decide what gets made. We learn it so that we can decide and not just execute, so that we're evaluating AI's output and not the other way around. We learn it so that we can shape taste, name meaning, and challenge systems. And if that sounds abstract, we all watched it happen this week. Bad Bunny didn't execute a series of songs. He walked onto a stage because he had something to say about immigration and identity and who gets to be seen in this country. And then he had the craft to say it in a way that 70 million people couldn't turn away from. And no algorithm chose that message, and no prompt generated that performance. A human being with years of hard-won skill and a point of view made a series of brave, deliberate, creative decisions. And that's creative agency. That's what craft gives you. And for the students you teach, especially those who are anxious and practical and wondering if they'll matter, the ones lying awake doing the math on loan payments and entry-level salaries, it's not an abstract promise. It's a real one. But here's the thing, they might not believe it yet. I probably wouldn't have if I were their age. They'll believe it when they feel it, when they make something that surprises them, when they sit in a critique and realize that they can name the one thing that's wrong and no one else in the room saw it, when they learn to trust the thing in their gut that says, this isn't right yet, and they have the skill to do something about it themselves. And you give them that. Teachers do. You're the ones who make them do it again when the first version's lazy, I bet. You're the one who asks the question that they don't want to hear. You're the one who shows them that their voice, specific, irreplaceable points of view, that those are worth the years it takes to sharpen it. I'll say that one again. You're the one who shows them that their voice, their specific, irreplaceable point of view is worth the years it takes to sharpen it. So, thank you. Not for teaching art or film or music or animation and design, although you do, but for teaching the one thing that's underneath all of it, which is that your students have something to say and that it's worth learning how to say it well. You remember those billboards? The ones that promise AI can handle everything? Coordination and coding and creativity and care. I'll give them coordination and I'll give them coding and I don't know, maybe I'll give them a little bit of creativity, but care? Care is the part where a teacher looks down at a student's rough cut and says, this is close, but you're hiding from the ending. And care is the part where someone decides that a message about immigration and identity is worth performing at the Super Bowl. The care is the part that can't be automated, and it's the part you teach every day. So to the question, will I matter? Thank you for being the ones that teach them that they will. I can't see a thing up here, but I'll be around. I can't wait to meet you all. Thank you so much.
To close this morning's presentation, please give a round of applause for Allison Frenzel, Chief Program Specialist with California Department of Education.
Oh, they weren't kidding. You cannot see a thing. Hi, everyone, and welcome. And I just want to give a special thanks to Rachel. She was absolutely incredible, and all of you for being here today and taking time to enhance your own professional learning and spend time together in this amazing network that the AME, is formerly known as the AME Institute, the Creative Educators Network, has fostered. Before I start, I want to honor Ashley Adams. I don't know where she is right now. And thank her for all the time and care she's invested, and also her team, Jesse and Merlin, who have put this amazing event together for all of you. So let's give them a round of applause. So we're super excited for all the cool stuff happening today, and really appreciative, again, of you taking time away from your students to spend today with each other. I never really speak at our events, but a lot has been on my mind lately, and I'm not gonna lie, I rewrote this speech like 30 times. And it started out as a total doomsday rant, and so I actually didn't have time to print it, and so I'm on my phone scrolling without reading glasses, so bear with me here. So first I wanted to honor Rachel's speech. I loved hearing her message today, and her ideas really resonated with me. As educators, we carry such an extraordinary weight of responsibility, not just to prepare students for the future, but to protect their capacity to think, to create, to speak their truth. And as Rachel so perfectly presented, seeing differently requires staying curious as the world changes, and it's changing so rapidly right now. So I'll be honest, I haven't been in the classroom since 2018, and I'm not sure I'd be a very good teacher in 2026. It feels like we're living in an alternate timeline. Every day feels heavier than the last. Not only are our students swimming through a constant barrage of misinformation, but they're encountering technology with no meaningful guardrails. As Rachel mentioned, generative AI tools capable of replacing jobs, generating deep fakes, and producing synthetic realities that blur the line between truth and fiction. I was conversing with an Oakland Unified teacher this week, actually, Jasmine Miranda, and she said something that stuck with me. That as educators, we need to understand the crucial balance of being proactive, not reactive in this time. And we all have the opportunity to model artistic courage right now in this moment. So teachers have the privilege of shaping how the next generation tells their stories, helping students find their voice, and helping students see their art as activism. So today's professional development, it's not just about tools, it's about vision. It's about empowering one another so we can empower our students, and making this a day of curiosity, collaboration, and creative momentum to celebrate the necessity of human expression. So I'm very appreciative of the Creative Educators Network and these opportunities that they are building across the state. And I'm honored to be here with all of you today, and can't wait for what today has in store. And a special thank you to all of the partners who have made this possible for you. So that's it. That's my little speech. Thank you.